track at the wall. We are tied.
Look at this. He's slammed it forward. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Armstrong with a big leg. Over for the cover. He got it. Unbelievable.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone. Awesome. He got it. The starter. Mike Tyson in. Austin is the champion. Stone Cold. Stone Cold. Stone Cold.
Now the 2-2. Well hit down the left field line. Way back in.
Touch a ball, Joe. You'll never hit a bigger home run in your life.
Oh my God, no! Mankind did it! Nick Foley did it! No, Stone Cold did it! Mankind has achieved his dream and the dream of everyone else who's been told you can't do it! No, you can't do it! You can't do it! No matter what, got money on my mind, I can never get enough. And every time I step up in the building, everybody hands go up.
What's up, Connection? Welcome to WWE WAR Wrestling Above Replacement, an exciting podcast series that is simulcast both audio and visually on YouTube and audio on all podcast applications except for Spotify under North-South Connection. And on this journey, myself, JT, and my buddy Marcus are taking you through every WWE pay-per-view in a seasonal format to determine the best ever based on a very specific set of metrics that we'll cover in a moment. Marcus, how are you, my friend?
Yankees are currently not doing very well, so that also means I'm not doing well.
It means it's June.
My baseball team
Did I do well in June?
It must be June sometime over the last 6 years or so. But how are you?
Not bad. Just kind of, summer's here. It's 95 to 100 one day, 65 the next. That's life in the Northeast, but it is what it is. But excited to continue our journey through the history of WWE pay-per-views. And we're continuing our trek through the 2013-14 season tonight with Battleground 2013. When I say season, we start with the pay-per-view following WrestleMania in any given calendar year. We go to WrestleMania the following year. So for this season, we started with Extreme Rules 2013, and we're going to end with WrestleMania 30. And then we'll throw it back in the tumbler and pick another random season. So we're not doing chronological. We'll just kind of do the season, then we jump around. We're stack ranking all these pay-per-views, and we'll kind of go over that as we get into the rules. But we're excited. We're about halfway through the season now, so we're moving through, getting toward the kind of the launch to WrestleMania season, probably about a month from today when we get the Survivor Series. That kind of kicks off Mania season, really. So it'll be exciting. Any quick thoughts on 13 before we get to the rules?
Yeah, I felt like we were moving, and then we hit this stretch of fall shows, and I don't know how time went for the actual calendar, but I feel like we've had maybe 5 pay-per-views in the last 3 weeks of 2013 real time. So I'm gonna be excited to leave. I'm gonna be excited to leave the fall season of this portion of our season recovering.
We should have at some point as we go through these seasons, kind of run stats and see what the worst not season is, but the worst quarter of the season is every time. Kind of like that right after Mania, you get your summer, you get your fall, and then you get your Mania push. I'm assuming January to April will have the most consistent high scores, but I am curious if September to December or whatever it is always the worst stretch of the year. It's got to be up there for sure every year. I feel like you hit the doldrum, unless Survivor Series pops. There's not too much else generally, but
especially given our format, SummerSlam's performed really well. So I think that needs some credence to that.
Yeah. Well, it almost feels like it's split into two in a way, which is kind of cool the way we do it the season, because it feels like you get the first season culminates with SummerSlam, the first half. And then you kick off again now with September at Mania. So it kind of feels like it naturally splits it into two. And that's kind of the march of each section. One year that was like that was 1995, Marcus. That definitely had a rough fall. You can hear more about 1995 on NoSo 95, our stretch project throughout the year, paying tribute 30 years later to all things pop culture, wrestling, sports, and beyond. We got something really cool. I got to see when this airs. I know we're obviously tape a little bit ahead. It would have already dropped on the 4th of July, the NoSo 95 mixtape draft, and that is led by our producer who is here with us tonight. Now the two-man Tim Taylor is also the man on the chair for that mixtape draft. So check that out. It dropped on July 4th. And I mentioned producer Tim because he does all the graphical work here. Of course, like I said, this is simulcast. I do recommend checking out the video because there's a lot of numbers, a lot of different categories and lists on this show, and it really helps to see it visually. So go to YouTube, watch it, and you can process it probably a little bit easier as you go. But let's send over to producer Tim. He's going to read over the rules.
Welcome to WWE WAR. I'm producer Tim. JT and Marcus have taken on the noble task of finding the true answer to the age-old question wrestling fans have debated for years. What is the greatest WWE pay-per-view of all time? To find the answer, WAR looks to explore each and every pay-per-view using a plus-minus scale at a baseline average, where things above average gain a point and things below average lose a point. WWE WAR grades on several categories including match quality, build, commentary, atmosphere, notable moments, card structure, and rewatchability. The magic number to remember for WWE WAR is 2.5. That is the baseline number for an average replacement level match. Any grade higher or lower than 2.5 raises or lowers the average WAR score. For example, if JT and Marcus give a match a 3-star rating, then that match is 0.5 points above replacement. Add all of the totals up and you get your nice round number to give you your match quality grade. There's also a bonus. If there is a match that both JT and Marcus rate 4.25 or higher, or 0.75 or lower, that match gains or loses a point for either an all-time great match or an all-time bad match. By the time we're done, we will have composed the most comprehensive list ever for WWE pay-per-views to give you the answer of what is the greatest WWE pay-per-view of all time. Take it away, boys.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Tim. Hopefully everyone digested the rules. Again, if you're watching on YouTube, it'll be a lot easier because they were listed in front of you. Check it out. All right, let's dive into Battleground 2013. Took place on October 6th at the First Niagara Center in Buffalo, New York. 11,700 in attendance, 115,000 buys. We're kind of in the dying days before WWE Network takes over. So these are kind of really the last pay-per-views there are, like traditional pay-per-views for everybody. We've got about 5 or 6 left before the network kicks in for WrestleMania 30 was on the network, right? I believe that was the first one. I think so. So everything before that is still traditional pay-per-view. So this is, if you're still in the dying days of ordering these shows, this is making you question your life for sure.
I feel like 50, like every pay-per-view is like $50 at this point too.
Oh yeah, especially for some of the slop. I mean, I always usually try to find ways. Like for a long time, we were going to a local bar and watching them, for a few years. And then there was definitely a stretch, I think in 11, 12, where I was just streaming. I mean, just finding whatever, Justin TV or whatever those things were at the time, and watching them that way because it was just, just a brutal bill every month for some of these. Like I was fine paying for the big ones still at that point, but for some of these shows, like it was like, no, I'm all set. And I'm someone who I bought a lot over the years, like even into the late 2000s, I was still ordering some, but by this point it was hard to justify the cost for some of these cards that they were rolling out here. So definitely helped when you could find a couple bars to go watch it at. Michael Cole, Jerry Lawler, and John Bradshaw Layfield are on the call. They've kind of, this might be one of the few seasons that's not like an older one where we've had a consistent commentary team. Like it feels like we usually get like a little bit of a mix up as we go, especially in these later years. But I think these three have been on every show so far for better or worse. They've ran with them. We had one dark match or pre-show match, I should say. And that is just the continuation of a case study that we've had throughout this fall, throughout the season, as Dolph Ziggler defeats Damian Sandow on the pre-show. Like, when we started this season, Dolph was on top of the world, had cashed in Money in the Bank, world champion, having great matches with Alberto Del Rio, gets injured. Then he's in the mid-card title picture. Then he's just in the mid-card. Now he's on the pre-show. Like,
it's on the panel.
Ball. Yeah, the panel coming. Yeah, the panel for sure.
Yeah.
Just a
political hit.
Awful fall for him. For a guy that we were really into, and I know you're a big fan of. So,
yeah.
All right, let's get to the card itself. We're going to start off with our opening match, and that is, as has been the trend, our World Heavyweight Championship match opening the show. Alberto Del Rio taking on Rob Van Dam. I went 3 3/4 in this, Marcus. I was very excited to have RVD back. We talked about this last month. He's one of my all-time favorites, and I thought him and Del Rio have some sneaky decent chemistry out there. This one we get a little bit more plundering in there because it is a hardcore match. And in the finish, Del Rio taps Van Dam in the cross arm breaker with RVD's arm trapped in the chair. So I thought there was a really cool finish to the actual match, and I thought they did a good job using different weaponry without being gratuitous. They kept it pretty tight as well. I think it goes 13-ish or 16. Yeah, not too bad. So I like this as an opener, and Del Rio continues to be one of the better pieces of the season for sure in ring.
Yeah, 3.5 for me, and Del Rio's been good during the season, of course. But what an addition Van Dam has been since Money in the Bank.
Mm-hmm.
Anything that he's in just gets 3, 3.5, 3 3/4. He's come in and he's kind of just raised the quality of the WAR of every match he's been in. So he's really been valuable heading into this back into the season or middle portion of the season.
And his offense with the ladder is great. Like, he really mixes it in. It's all kind of different stuff. So it was cool. It was a cool throwback match.
You forget about this era, this run from him, but he's still doing fresh stuff with WWE Plunder that makes him stand out. So our next match is a tag team match, as we have the Real Americans with Jack Swagger and Cesaro defeating Santino Marella and the Great Khali with Warren Swagler. They go about 7 minutes. 1 3/4 for me. Lacked energy, especially coming off of the hot match we got to open, the Plunder match. I even felt guilty giving a match with Claudio like this low of a rating because Claudio doesn't do bad work. So
they're fine. I think the Real Americans are like criminally underrated. We're going to see that a little bit in the season.
Yeah.
Like, they're really good. I like the package. I think what we've learned over the years in WWE especially, but even outside of it, he's great, is he's like one of the best tag workers of all time, right? So, and you see that because he's always at his best in WWE when he's in these teams, right? The Bar, him and Kid, the Real Americans, right? He's always at his best. And then obviously even before this, Kings of Wrestling, etc. So like he's a phenomenal tag team worker. And him and Swagger, like, it saves Swagger, right? He was like scuffling to start the season. The two of them together are such a fun power team. And it makes the Zeb thing work a little bit better for whatever reason than it did just with Swagger. I don't know why, but because it feels less main eventy and more kind of, these guys are just like an asshole tag team. So it kind of works better to have it out there running a shtick. They get the theme music, which gets like really over too out of nowhere. And just they start to really work in mannerisms, as we'll see as we continue through the season, like that really work well. Like they build the shtick. I think it's why Claudio is so good as a tag worker, because he always takes the time to like build a shtick and a chemistry within the team. Like, it's not just two guys teaming up. It's always like, okay, they have a specific look. They'll come up with like dual mannerisms and combo moves, and like he makes sure every team he's in is like a real team and not just two guys put together. So I think it stands out for him. This was not great, and that's not on them. It's Khali is Khali. Santino's a comedy worker at best at this point. Still hanging on here toward the tail end of his run. And the highlight and what carries the rating a little bit is the giant swing he does on Khali, which looks awesome. And is a cool, real, it's a guy that starts to get some big shine moments, and this is one of them to kind of start that. So,
yeah.
All right, we don't get any better. Next is R-Truth challenges Curtis Axel for the IC title. Axel retains. I went 1.5. I guess it's kind of timely with Truth and killings in the news a lot lately in modern day WWE, which is interesting. This went just under 8 minutes. It's just not good. I mean, Axel's very limited at best, right? We've seen him kind of get carried a bit by Punk here in the summer and others, but Truth at this point is not the guy to like pull a good match out of him, and this just was not it.
Yeah, and Axel's in this weird spot where he's supposed to be like almost dominating these mid-card guys that he's wrestling, but he's incompetent and unable to take a step up against a guy like CM Punk. We saw like Heyman had no faith or confidence in him when it was time for him to step up. So it's just a really weird position to kind of bury your Intercontinental Champion. One for me. Axel's a bit overexposed, and I think this Curtis Axel experiment has run its course.
You want to give him credit for finally giving someone the IC belt, featuring it. He's on every pay-per-view. They're having a long reign. And it's just like, well, the guys they picked and the way they've kind of booked it has been like, ugh, it's like you kind of had it. You had the plan. Just kind of sputtered throughout it.
Yep. All right. Next up, we have for the WWE Divas Championship, we have AJ Lee successfully retaining against Brie Bella. I went with a 1.25. Lower than I would have thought with these two, because I thought the Bellas got pretty decent towards the end of their run. AJ has a reputation of being the online favorite during this time period, but just wasn't clicking again. The last 3 matches now just kind of been stuck in this first gear.
Yeah, and that's the storyline for this too. So like AJ versus the Total Divas crew that's been rolling out there. But yes, this was very. Yeah, I mean, Nikki was always a bit better than Brie, like even toward this stretch here where they are both getting better. I mean, Brie will have some good stuff, later, but for now, she's not quite there yet. AJ's doing her best to kind of try and carry some of these women, but it's like we're just right on the doorstep of that next era of women's wrestling in the company, and we're in the final days. Along with the network starting, also comes like Page coming up, and we start to really kind of step up, right? But for right now, we're still in those final dying days of the Divas division in its original incarnation. So 175 for me too. But again, we're in a real rough stretch here. But that changes because our next match is a bit of a classic, my friend, and that is Cody Rhodes and Goldust defeating Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns for the tag team titles. I'm sorry, not for the tag team titles, just in a tag team match. So Cody and Goldust had been fired by the Authority, and basically, if the Shield won, Dusty Rhodes would lose his job as trainer of NXT, and they'd all be fired. If they win, they get their jobs back. So no belts on the line here. But this is just a great match, and it holds up. I was really curious to rewatch it because I knew, like in my mind, I always loved it. I went 4 stars on it. And there's also like some interesting like modern day stuff in here, like Cody, Rollins, and Reigns all in this match. And they all pretty much main evented Mania this year. So it's interesting that 12 years later, here we are. And they're still in, obviously Cody took a much longer road there, but it's interesting just to see this in retrospect. We're also kind of in the final days of Goldust as Goldust in WWE, right? He'd eventually move on and still put on decent stuff, but this is kind of his last gasp in the character in this role. So really great match. If you haven't seen it in a long time, I recommend it. They keep it humming along. 14 minutes for me. And I think sneakily also, Marcus, is kind of one of the last great Shield matches because as we'll see as the season goes on, like they start to fall off a bit, and then like the turn's not far from here where they go on their own stuff. Now, Reigns and Ambrose will still have some team stuff, but as like the original Shield goes, we've had a year of really high level stuff from them, and I think we're kind of toward the end of it.
Especially for them as heels. The dynamics change as we get to 2014. 4.25 for me. This just had a little bit of everything, and one thing that stuck out for me was that chemistry that Rollins and Cody have here, also the chemistry that Roman and Dustin have, which I was like, I didn't expect that. But you can see the chemistry there. And then also when Cody and Roman interact, you see that there's chemistry. So kind of crazy, like you said, with 3/4 of this match, what they go on to do, how important they are to the company current day. But it took a long time to get there, and everybody had their own different path. But you see that the skill and the talent, the chemistry was all there for them during this time. But I think the thing that put it over the edge for me to get it into all-time great territory is the stuff on the outside. You've got Dusty giving the big bionic elbow to Dean Ambrose. I think that's a great moment. And it's just the cherry on top of what is already a great match. Just makes it an all-timer for me.
Yeah.
So
it holds up well.
Yeah. All right. Our next match is Bray Wyatt, accompanied by Luke Harper and Eric Rowan, defeating Kofi Kingston. Straight up 2.5 for me. Monday Night Raw special, perfectly fine match. Nothing special to write home about.
Yeah, what is building Bray still? He beat Kane at SummerSlam, picks up a win here over Kofi. Like he's just, continuing to just kind of build his resume up and show that he's not just talk, right? Because that's a challenge with these type of guys, especially out of the gate. Like, are they able to do something that's more than just run their mouths? Like, are they going to bring people into their cult? Are they going to, change the company, or whatever their goals are to try and accomplish? We do get, at least here early on, Bray is, beating guys and making progress. So yeah, 2.5 for me. Like you said, it's a Raw special. We chug along. CM Punk takes on Ryback in our next match. I went 2 3/4 on this one. It's kind of finally getting toward the end here. I think we got one more month of this with him and CM Punk and Heyman and their feud going on. Ryback, to me, he's been someone that I've enjoyed decently enough in this season. I like his stuff with Cena, and I think he's been fine in the Punk feud. It's like, Axel kind of dragging it down. Heyman's been even hit or miss a little bit throughout this. But this match I thought was decent. I think, Ryback brought the energy. I think Punk has done a fine job fully in his Bret Hart 1995. Speaking of 1995, right? Bret Hart 95. He's solely in that stretch right now of his career. Sadly, his 97 doesn't come right away. But I thought this was fine. He carries Ryback to a decent match.
Yeah. Same war for me, 2.75. It's all right. It's like I feel like there's something more there, but I think you can see in that still shot that Tim so expertly picked out. I was like, oh, are these the shots that did it for Punk? Just a lot of if you know what to look for, a lot of unsafe strikes, and they don't feel intentional, but just a lot of shots getting through there, and you can just see Punk like actually being hurt. Again, not injured, but you can see him being hurt. Getting his bell rung on these elbows from the fireman's carry position by Ryback. I mean, he gets absolutely clobbered. It's something to go back and check out. You can kind of see what Punk was going off about on the Cabana podcast. But next up, we have our main event of the evening. It is for the vacant WWE Championship, which is in abeyance and would still remain in abeyance after this match.
Still abeyance.
I went with a 3.5. These guys just do continual good work, but it's also disappointing. Like you said, that they're capable of more. These guys could easily get to 4. I feel like there's 4.25, 4.5 there for these guys, but with doing so many shows in such a tight time span and the storyline, which kind of feels like it has no real end, feels like they don't really want Bryan to be in that position, so it's never really going to end up with Bryan. Just in a weird spot, but overall the work is good. 3.5.
Yeah, 3.5 for me. Like you said, it's good. It's just 2 months in a row now that I was like, I wanted more. I was excited for this feud coming off SummerSlam by Bryan and Cena and the turn. I feel like they could have really potential for 2 great matches when you think of the storyline and the heat that's baked into it. The finish doesn't help here, obviously, with the no contest, keeping the title abeyant. And it feels very much like I always just compare this stretch to late 98. And it's similar. It's like same idea. The title gets held up by Vince with Taker and Kane, and then you kind of have Foley and the Bryan role just eating up that winter. And then you see like where they were planning to head. I don't know what the plan was at this point. Like, I don't know if they knew about Batista coming back yet, or was Punk the plan to win the belt at Mania? Like, because you look at the fall here, it feels like they're ramping him up for that role. And I think that would have been fine, but I don't know when that goes off the rails and they change paths. But I think it's pretty obvious that they're trying to just have Bryan fill this gap and then be done and move in. Because, it's obvious where they're moving him when we see where we're going over the next couple of shows. Like, they clearly wanted a specific feud for him, and we're not picturing him being that champion at the end of Mania.
Yeah. I always felt Bryan, that was a SummerSlam to SummerSlam story, not where we're going to end up.
Right.
I always felt by SummerSlam 2014 that he was going to get crowned. So
I don't think they were ever going to crown him. I just don't think they thought he'd hold up and be a consistent champion at that level at that point. Like, I think they thought it was kind of a flash, that they'd hold steady. He'd always be really over, that this little blip of a title win and run would make him kind of bulletproof long-term, like a Jericho, but he wouldn't be the guy that like carries the company in that regard. I think they did get forced in the end, and then they could look back and say, hey, we were right. He got hurt and we had to pull the belt right off him. So I don't know. All right. So that gives us a final in-ring war score of 1.25, which to me is like unacceptable this time frame. When you look at the guys on this card, like, to have a total war score of 1.25 for match quality is dog shit. I mean, for us, like, 3 to 5 is like good, right? 5 and up, it starts to get to very good to great. 1.25 is like the dregs. I mean, this is like a bad in-ring show. So to me, again, you have Punk, you got Bryan, you got Orton, you got Del Rio, you got RVD, you got Cesaro, you got the Shield, you got the Rhodeses. Like, why are we having a card this fucking bad at this point? Like, it shouldn't be the case, or disappointing. So, all right, let's get to build. That's our next category here after match quality. And here's our pluses. This is everything that got a point. So we gave a point for Van Dam stalking Del Rio to get his rematch after last month. A point for R-Truth getting the title shot with a non-title win. Gets an assist from Punk, but that's how he defeats Axel. A point for AJ hiring Tamina Snuka as her backup since she pissed off the whole women's locker room. That's the only woman that would work with her. A point for Triple H and Stephanie at war with the Rhodes family. Dusty gets attacked. The kids are fired. Everything we talked about earlier. A point for the Wyatts targeting Kofi as their next victim. A point for Ryback becoming a Heyman guy and battering Punk weekly. We saw that turn previously. And then plus 2 points for everything goes into the main event. So Triple H strips Daniel Bryan after Night of Champions, right? Because when we left, he had won. They used the Dusty finish by working with Scott Armstrong, the referee. He's in cahoots because he's trying to save his job from being fired. Steph then baits Orton into regressing into kind of his, what was it called back in 2009? If his aggression disorder, whatever he had going on.
Intermittent explosive disorder.
Yeah, so he gets back to that. He's taunting Mrs. Mom. He's taunting Brie Bella during his assaults. And then the fans rally Bryan to get the rematch. So 2+2. It's a really good angle, I thought, heading into the show, even with the finish that we get.
All right. Let's get into our minuses. Ongoing, never-ending corporate structure and control. There's so much Triple H and Stephanie, and they're kind of woven in every feud. But kind of unlike the Bloodline, which was kind of woven into every feud in 2022, 2023. This is all really bad. So big con.
So
here,
everything.
Triple H stripping Bryan continues with the little engine that could kind of stuff for Bryan. We went -1 for that, and then we also get the random Santino and Kali team being managed by Hornswoggle. They're getting a prime spot on pay-per-view, and they almost make Claudio, have a bad match. So
keep it on. What was the kid show at Sunday Morning Slam, whatever.
Saturday Morning Slam. Yeah,
keep it there. Keep it on main event, whatever, or even Raw, like pay-per-view time.
Superstars.
It's like whatever. And the best of business, control, verticals. Like I'm so already over it. And you're right, it doesn't go away for a while. But I think we had in one of our chats the other day, we were talking about it, and I said this era really should be considered like the corporate era. Like I feel like from 2012, or whatever you want to say, to like 2016, like they're obsessed with like the corporate culture and language and building a brand and like there's all that shit
face
that
of the company.
Like we liked the old corporation because it was hammy and over the top, and Vince was megalomaniac. Like that felt more like a Dr. Evil corporate structure, right? Like it's like, right, this guy's trying to take over the fucking world and he's crazy. This is like the shit you deal with at work. I don't want to hear this. I don't, and we got PowerPoint slides. Like I'm all set. Like I don't need to hear all this here. So this to me didn't resonate as much because it wasn't as like over the top. But
and also like Vince always got his comeuppance. Like
that too.
Every pay-per-view, like if you didn't get a pay-per-view, you got on TV
along the way.
Everywhere. Always. And you always got Triple H like finding ways to get cheered during his promos, like trying to bury like Curtis Axel like last month. Like it just
And you know what? We're altering the math as we go, Marcus. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but like it's all time bad. -3 on the corporate stuff. I can't stand it, and it's constant during this time period. It's grating. So, producer Tim working his wizardry with that being an all time. Our build score is a 3. So, let's head to our next category, which is commentary. Good speculation around Damian Sandow's potential cash in during the hardcore match. He's holding that briefcase. This is the type of match where guys can be incapacitated and he could step in and win. Point for Cole, adding nice depth to R-Truth's chase and story based on his online interview with him prior to the show. A point for a really good focus and engagement in the road story. I think they do a good job there. And a point with a pretty funny line. JBL actually works this in show to show, but Cole's using he and him, and JBL says, "You're confusing me with the pronouns." And modern day, you assume the joke is about pronouns, right? They, them. But when you think of that time, the joke was because Vince was used to obsess over his announcers not using pronouns and using full names. So instead of me saying, he gave this a 2, meaning Marcus, I would have to say Marcus Fuller gave this a 2. He always wanted his announcers to fully enunciate the full names of who they're speaking to. So JBL kind of works it in as a crack here about the pronouns.
All right, let's get to our cons. We've got Jerry the Stupid King Lawler just having an especially off night. He's mush-mouthing. He's stumbling through his jokes.
I think it's the Botox is like making his mouth not work.
You'd be surprised how much Mountain Dew he could put down.
He looks like the animatronic in the Hall of Presidents. That's what he looks like to me.
Yeah. I was in the locker room with him one time. Just scarf him down Burger King and Mountain Dew.
I can't imagine why he had a stroke on air.
Still calling weapons toys. It's one of my big personal bugaboos. We get the ha yuck yuck maggle. JBL says cancer was the number 1 trend on Raw last week. Taking the trending obsession a bit too far.
Well, it's so clear. It's Cancer Awareness Month. They get the pink everywhere and all that, but it's like. Yeah. I mean, I think we're bragging on the trends. So cancer was the number 1 trend, Maggle, but he didn't say it like sarcastically. Like he really said it. Like, okay,
we got cancer trending, guys. We did it.
Oh yeah, we're real thrilled about it.
Way too much focus on Heyman being fat and ugly, which like looking back on it, like he wasn't even like that fat. Like kind of crazy.
Look at him now. Now he looks like James Gandolfini at the end of The Sopranos. Now, like then he's he was fat, but he wasn't like grotesque like he is now.
We're not done yet. We got 2 more here. Cole says this is the biggest win in the history of the Rhodes family. That's a bit too far. And then we also got commentary, which is awful with the Cobra jokes, jokes about Kali.
Yeah, terrible. All right. Yeah, I mean, I think Dusty had some bigger wins. -3 for commentary, right on par with their usual schlop. All right, let's get to atmosphere. We give a point for the good war-based opening. We love our war themes here, of course, but different kind of war. But this one has the fighting type of war opening video. It does a nice job recapping the top feuds. We always give a point for the festive Alberto Del Rio theme. Even though he's a heel now, he's still kept the horny, brassy version. Makes me horny. The big pop for RVD's entrance. We did give a point for the pink rope and shirts and here. They do a good job bringing the aesthetic. Like, again, when you think of these October shows in the mid 2000s, you always picture like the pink setting. And to me, that means the branding worked. A nice pop for the giant swing in Cesaro pinning Khali. That was a really cool moment. The Rhodes family all coming out to Common Man Boogie was awesome. Of course, that always hits. A point for the big pop for Dusty when he takes out Ambrose and Cody wins. A point for the Wyatt entrance, and a point for Punk's pop. Still super ungodly over.
For our minuses for atmosphere, we've got Ricardo in his pink shirt, looking a little bit silly. It seems like he never got one that actually fit him properly. But going along with RVD, who has like unique and cool looks every single pay-per-view, doesn't really make a lot of sense. We get the boring chants during Actual Truth.
He looks like a fat kid going in the pool that wears the big baggy shirt because he doesn't want to have his tits out.
We get zero reaction for the Bellas. Absolutely dead quiet for them. We get a lame "You Can't Wrestle" Goldberg chants for the Ryback. We get the crowd dying at the end of the main event. And then we get just raw TV style type energy throughout the night. Very spectatory.
Yeah. It sucks. There's some pluses here for sure, but some of it. I mean, Ricardo in that shirt is just brutal. Just brutal. Looks like your comment, Abuela. 3 for atmosphere.
American dream.
With Sweet Sapphire.
He's just a common man.
While this is playing, I'll give a shout out to check out Cronoso we did on SummerSlam 90 recently. I thought we did a great job in covering that show, and I had the honor of having the entire Dusty Rhodes Sapphire saga.
Oh, it's great.
Of course, some of my favorite stuff of all time. We're all still looking for, but I will say, Dusty's promo on that show is iconic. Like, I think he gets overlooked as some of his best work ever. But she repaid me with scorn. It's like, you wouldn't think it'd be this emotional promo of fucking Sapphire, but he just crushes it. It's so good. So good. Check it out. Cronoso on the North-South Connection. All right, let's get to our next category, which is moments. A point for the giant swing to Khali, a point for the Rhodeses getting their jobs back, and then Dusty's last pay-per-view bionic elbow in here. So not much happening, and that is the theme of the fall of 2013. These shows are all eminently missable.
Yep. For our minuses, we got Abeyance. He was nonstop. And then also the title remaining in actual.
Comes in abeyance and it goes out in abeyance.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So
that's a 1. Nothing happening. Let's get to card structure. Good hardcore step for the title shot. Makes sense within the story, given the last month, how that ended. And of course, with RVD's career and history in ECW, it makes a lot of sense as well. A point for, despite the silly feud and opponents, it's nice to have a non-tag title match with real teams, just like the IC division has been spot. Like, this is what I'll give them in 2013. They've put focus on the IC division. The women are on every show, sometimes with multiple matches. And now we're getting tag matches that aren't just like throwing together teams with the titles on the line. So they are trying to deepen some of the stuff they were showcasing. That goes to the next point. IC title continues to be featured on pay-per-view. And then a point for the awesome recap video with Heyman and Punk. They did a really good job recapturing that whole feud and telling the story here.
Yeah, the recap video was really good. Makes me almost excited for the end of the feud. For our minuses, we've got a bad trend of the World Heavyweight title opening the show. And now it's like fully integrated now. It's become an expectation. Yeah, as opposed to a surprise. We get Ziggler. He's getting shuffled all the way down to the pre-show. His sad fall, the political hit continues. We get overbooked to end of the main event, dumb finish, killing the closing stretch of the show in the match. And then ending the show with Big Show and his music, just tone deaf to the fans.
Yeah, so we didn't really talk about that, I guess. We can do it now, I guess, here. So Big Show, we're like really in the stretch of them trying to hand Daniel Bryan's heat to Big Show. So Big Show had kind of been in the middle of this corporate war. We talked about it previously where he's crying and, he's basically cosplaying as Virgil where they're threatening his, mom and everything else or whatever. So he does the dirty work. And here he kind of snaps. He comes out and ends up knocking out both men to show that he's not working for the authority. He rethinks what it is to Bryan, and that leads to no contest. But then they end the show like with, and he's stomping around. It's like, okay, like Everyone wants Daniel Bryan. It's pretty friggin' obvious right now. And if they don't want Daniel Bryan, they want CM Punk, right? That's right. Those are the two guys they want. Big Show's not it. And I think it's coming up soonish where they try and transition the yes chant to him. And it's just terrible. Like it's so tone deaf to end the show with him standing tall over Bryan and even Orton. Like I think if you ask most fans there, they'd rather have Orton just retain and stand tall than Big Show come in and knock him out and stomp around. Because you know where we're headed. And no one wants a Big Show Orton title match. All right, let's get to so what is that? Card structure 0. That's actually a win for this season. Let's get to rewatchability. A point for RVD's awesome ladder offense we talked about earlier. A point for the chair cross arm breaker from Del Rio. A point for the giant swing. A point for the Rhodes family's pre-match promo, which was really good. You know, obviously it's a Dusty-based promo, but Cody and Goldust are also really good in it. And a point for the locker room celebration with the Rhodes family after. Just it was really fun watching that too. So they really they did the yeoman's work on this pay-per-view. Like if you take the Rhodeses out, there's not a lot else cooking.
Yeah, show MVPs for sure. For our cons, we have crying Big Show derails the main event, and then we get all the corporate structure talk, face of WWE, the goat face stuff with Bryan, little engine that could, B+ player, hate all of it. Just the commentary and the tone of the storylines itself and what's actually important makes this unrewatchable.
Yeah, Goat Face is awful too. There's all of it. Paul Risk, Goat Finn, King. The problem with King has always been, right? When he gets lashed onto something, he'll say it ad nauseum. So you start giving him shit like Paul Risk and Goat Boy, like that's it. He'll run that shit into the ground without giving a shit. So, all right. So rewatchability, that's a 3. It's not bad. And then no all-time matches either way. So big old Zippo for that. Gives us a final WAR score of 8.25, making it the 110th show, Marcus, of our journey here. So not good at all. We talked about the fall doldrums really pronounced in this season. That 110 is out of 135. So it's really toward the bottom. Sandwiched between Survivor Series 2015 with 109 and Extreme Rules 2011 with 775. So not good.
Yeah. Just imagine if you were to erase that tag match with the Rhodes and the Shield, how much further the show would have sunk in our overall
because
rankings.
You can argue too the authority stuff's working because it's really good in the piece of the Rhodes match and it's good part of the Bryan. Mm-hmm. It's just if they eliminate some of the buzzwords and don't make it as in your face, I think it'd be a real strong heel presentation because it's part of the best stuff on the show outside of Punk. But it's just too much. And when you have announcers that I'm sure we're parroting Vince, but it's like Cole and King both tend to hammer shit into the ground. So you have them the whole show and your only reprieve is, Sunday morning, Edge NFL matchup, JBL chucking and yucking up on the, on the thing. It's enough. That shouldn't have besmirched Edge NFL matchup. That was always the best show ever, but Merrill Hodge. Anyway. Who else was on that? Was it Jaworski? Was it Merrill and Jaws?
I think you're right.
That show was the best. I don't want to sit here and get nostalgic, but Edge NFL matchup in prime time on a Sunday. Nothing beat it, for sure. All right.
It's a bad show. Felt like you're watching it.
The fall of 13 so far probably is up there with some of the consistently worst stretches we've had to suffer through, for sure. And we've done some tough seasons, but I've definitely rued bringing the show back as we've gone through this back into 13. And it's usually you can look forward to the Rumble, but we know what Rumble 14 is. It's not any better. But at least we know we got a Holy Grail Mania at the end of it. So, all right, that'll do it. We'll be back in 2 weeks with Hell in a Cell 2013. We'll see if we can get any kind of reprieve here in the fall in a couple weeks. Let's go back. That's right, Tim. I'm sorry. Let's go back to our top 10. Sorry, I'm so depressed. All right, our 10th show of all time, SummerSlam 1992, 38.25.
Number 9, SummerSlam 2001 with 839.
Number 8, SummerSlam 2015, 39.25.
Number 7 is WrestleMania 7 with a 39.5.
Number 6, Vengeance 2005 checks in at 41 points.
Top 5. Number 5, SummerSlam 1990 with a 42.
Number 4, Royal Rumble 2002 with 44.
Number 3, SummerSlam 2005 with a 46.5.
Number 2, WrestleMania 22 with 56.5.
And our number 1 show, ECW One Night Stand 2005 with a 79.
That is a very big outlier right now. We'll see if anything can touch it. Maybe the show at the end of the season, perhaps. All right, 2 weeks, we'll be back. Hell in a Cell, a month from today, Survivor Series. A lot's going on to wrap up the season. Check out everything in North South Connection we talked about earlier. Also, check out and become a patron of the Final Wrestling Place Patreon. You'll find content from my boy Marcus and our producer, not the tool man, Tim Taylor. They get the Opportunity Quarter hitting daily. It comes right to your email box, plus all the other great audio and other content that they have cooking over there. So check it all out. Subscribe. It's free. Do it for free, or you can pledge like I do and support my boys. So be sure to do that. Smell the napalm. No, that's the other show. What do we say here? Keep your life above replacement level. Similar war theme. We'll talk to you later.